Hey guys, I'm Jamie, welcome. I'm going to offer you a video today that's a little more of a tutorial style around yoga. So we're going to talk about Chaturangas today and what that means, what Vinyasa flow is, and what you might expect when you hear that term. So I've had some requests for some more tutorial style videos, some more sort of specific dives into poses or terms. I know that for everybody, and no matter what it is, it can be very scary to go do something that you've never done before when it feels like everybody else might already know what they're doing, or you're going to be the one who, is confused when you hear certain things said. So I think that tends to be what prevents a lot of people from heading to yoga classes, and specifically when you hear the word flow or Vinyasa flow, that can be a little bit intimidating. And I want to show you what it means and also some options. So we're going to talk lots of options that will make this accessible to anybody, so that if you're in a class and the teacher isn't offering you options, you'll have in your head what some possibilities are. I think it's always important to remember that your body is yours and you know it the best. So no matter what a teacher says to you, if something they tell you to do doesn't feel right in your body, don't do it. Do what feels right. Don't hurt yourself. Don't do anything that strains you. That happens a lot in yoga, and I see it with a lot of teachers. And as somebody who has some kind of weird stuff with my body, where I know that the way that poses are often cued or the way we're told you're supposed to do it isn't what works for me. I've just learned to kind of tune it out and do my thing. Even if a teacher comes up and calls me out, I just keep doing what feels right for me, and that can be intimidating and hard to do, but hopefully getting some little videos and some tips like this will help you to make the right choices for your body. All right, you guys, so we're gonna go ahead and get this tutorial going. So when you hear Vinyasa flow as a class style, what that means is there will be a lot of movement generally in the class. There will be these Vinyasa flows, which means Chaturangas, and I'll show you exactly what that is. Okay, so I'm gonna start by showing you what's kind of considered the traditional Vinyasa flow with the Chaturanga. Bear in mind, this is not a beginner's move. This is not appropriate for everybody's body, but this is just to give you a basis for what we're talking about, and then we'll go through some variations and alternatives for everybody to use to make this what will really serve their body the best. So when we're talking about this very traditional Vinyasa flow with Chaturanga, you would be in a plank, and oftentimes you would get here from a standing position, not always though. So you're pressing the earth away from you, wide fingers, pads of the fingers pressing down, and you're turning the elbows back, so that as you lower in that Chaturanga, you're grazing the rib cage with the triceps and the elbows point back. You're coming about halfway typically before rolling onto the tops of the feet, lifting the heart. So upward dog here, we've got the thighs off the mat. And then rolling up and over the toes into downward dog with the hips high and the chest pressing back. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about this Vinyasa flow with the Chaturanga. Now, you might have watched that and thought, there's no way my body's gonna do that. You might have watched it and thought, hey, I'd like to try that out, or maybe it looks really easy to you. That's what's so great about yoga. There are options for everybody. So I want to start taking you through how you can accommodate your own body as you move through Vinyasa flows. So let's start with plank. Doing a plank from your toes might not be realistic. So when you plank from the knees, what you want to think about is it's not a tabletop. So we're not here. We don't have our hips over our knees. We want to shift it forward. So we're still creating that plank-like shape with the upper body. And we're creating a line, this long line that goes from our knees up to the crown of our head. We're still pressing the earth away. And then you can turn those elbows back just like I showed you before. Graze the rib cage with your triceps and lower. So you can always do this from your knees. Always a good option. Now, when you lower, instead of that halfway, you can lower all the way down to the chest, And then peel the heart up for cobra. So instead of that up dog, where we're lifting all the way with our thighs off the mat, here you're just lifting the heart. Lifting the gaze forward. And we want to take a lot of the pressure out of the hands. So we're not pushing ourselves up. We're really engaging our core and our back muscles to lift the heart and pull forward. And then you can always release that back down. Now when you press up into downward dog, you've got options here as well. So if tucking the toes and pressing straight up doesn't make a lot of sense to you, or maybe doesn't feel really accessible, pushing straight up and back with those hips, what you might try is pressing yourself up into a tabletop on the knees, tucking the toes, and then lifting those hips up and back. And that is a great option instead of first pressing straight into your downward dog. So what that would look like if you were to incorporate all of those variations into your vinyasa flow, you'd be starting in that plank with the knees down, elbows come back as you lower all the way to the mat. Inhale to lift your heart forward, gaze forward, shoulders down away from the ears. Exhale as you release and press yourself up through tabletop on the inhale. Tuck the toes. Exhale, lift the hips up and back. Downward dog. You could also incorporate parts of this in, keeping some of the more traditional options as well. So say you started that plank on your knees or on your toes, and then you lowered, but you came all the way down. You lifted the heart for cobra as opposed to up dog with the thighs off the mat. And then maybe you can tuck those toes and press all the way up and back into your downward dog. Maybe you want to take that plank on your knees, but you still want to get that sensation of up dog. So you lower halfway in your chaturanga and then lift the knees and the thighs into upward dog. And then roll up and over the toes, downward dog, hips high. So hopefully that gives you some good ideas of what it means when a teacher says take a flow or take a vinyasa flow, or you hear the word chaturanga mentioned in a class. No matter what the teacher shows you or tells you, just know that all of these variations are perfect and that you should do what feels right for you. You may be at a place where for your body, sticking with some of these variations are what makes the most sense for you in the long term. So no matter what, you're doing yoga right. Don't be scared to go try out a class. You can always find a beginner class or a Yoga 101 type class if it's your first time and you want to make sure that you get a little more instruction along with that class and a little more like a slower pace, more individualized attention type of class. And I'll try to get some more of these more instructional videos up. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about what you might like to see instructional videos on. If you have some tips and tricks for vinyasa flows and chaturangas, you can go ahead and include those as well. And you can visit my website at jamierai.com. I'm going to link that in the About section of this video. If you sign up for my mailing list there, I've got a free intention setting worksheet that you can download. It'll come to you in your email. And I've also got a link to my shop where you can purchase intentional crystal products, jewelry and such for yourself. And I'll link to my social media as well if you want to follow along with me. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope that you'll join me again soon.